Korea's National Assembly gears up to finally restart operations after its audit was held up for roughly a week due to political wrangling. Seoul's top diplomat says South Korea and the U.S. are having thorough discussions on how to counter threats from North Korea that include Washington's nuclear deterrence. And British Prime Minister Theresa May says her country will start the procedure to leave the European Union by the end of March next year. These and more coming right up. Hello, it's Monday, October 3rd here in Seoul. Welcome to our newscast. I'm Hwang. Our top story this morning, Korea's ruling party has announced that it will return to the parliamentary audit. The Assembly Speaker welcomed the decision and wished a swift recovery to the head of the ruling party, who ended a week-long hunger strike on Sunday. Eunjung reports.
Finally, an end to the prolonged deadlock at the National Assembly. The chairman of the ruling Saenuri Party announced the end of his week-long hunger strike on Sunday, and party officials said Saenuri lawmakers will return to parliament on Tuesday for the regular government audit. The ruling party chief Lee Jung-hyun had been on a hunger strike since last Monday, demanding the Speaker of the National Assembly, Chung Se-kyun, to step down. According to Saenuri Party floor leader Chung Jin-seok, Chairman Lee asked his fellow lawmakers to end their boycott of the parliamentary audit and will look for another way to keep up the pressure on Speaker Chung. Meanwhile, in a press conference on Sunday, Speaker Chung welcomed the ruling party's decision to return to parliament and apologized for causing concern. Days earlier, the ruling party filed petitions with the Constitutional Court and the prosecution against the Assembly Speaker, alleging that he abandoned his political neutrality by supporting a motion by the opposition to dismiss the new agricultural minister. Speaker Chung, however, has refused to express regret over allowing the vote on the dismissal motion to go through, arguing that all procedures were respected. Though the nation's political parties will likely continue to clash over the Assembly Speaker's recent actions, it appears lawmakers can for now get back to the business of the government audit. Eunjung, Arirang News.
South Korea has reaffirmed that it will not go nuclear, countering growing calls for Seoul to develop its own nuclear arsenal in the face of North Korea's continued nuclear advancements. Appearing on a local current affairs show on Sunday, Foreign Minister Yoon Byung-se said Washington's commitment to defending South Korea is stronger than ever. He added that Seoul is working with its closest ally to come up with a range of measures, including the so-called extended deterrence, to respond to Pyongyang's threats. Extended deterrence refers to the U.S. using its missile systems and nuclear weapons to protect the South from North Korea. Minister Yoon will travel to Washington this month, possibly for detailed discussions on deterrence measures. Britain has vowed to continue cooperating with South Korea, the United States, and Japan in countering North Korea's nuclear and missile provocations. Britain's foreign ministry says that in a recent speech in Tokyo, UK Minister for Asia and the Pacific, Alok Sharma, delivered a powerful message to the North Korean ambassador to Britain, slamming the regime for conducting yet another nuclear test. The minister also condemned Pyongyang for its human rights abuses, saying Britain will respond by leading new international countermeasures. He also said Japan is the UK's closest security partner, and the British government will help Japan in its push to become a permanent member of the UN Security Council. The rotating presidency of the UN Security Council has been handed over to Russia for the month of October. The Russian delegation takes the helm at a time when the conflict in Syria has worsened, and in the month when the Security Council will vote on new UN Secretary General to replace Ban Ki-moon, whose term ends this year. In addition, Moscow is expected to play a key role in passing a new UN Security Council resolution on North Korea following its fifth nuclear test last month. The first UN Security Council meeting, chaired by Russia, will take place on Monday when the agenda for the month is approved. Now, Beijing is tightening a probe into a Chinese firm suspected of helping North Korea's nuclear weapons program. But at the same time, China seems unwilling to completely cut off relations with its traditional ally. Connie Kim explains.
China continues to push ahead with its probe into Hongxiang International Development Co, which is accused of conducting trade with North Korea that could help the regime develop nuclear weapons. Japan's Kyodo News Agency reported Saturday that Chinese authorities have arrested dozens of customs officers in China's border town of Dandong on allegations that they facilitated illegal trade by Hongxiang. Kyodo said Beijing may be trying to minimize Washington's involvement after the U.S. Treasury Department imposed sanctions on Hongxiang CEO Ma Xiaohong and 3 of her business associates over allegations that Ma exported materials to North Korea that could be used to make nuclear weapons. Dandong is a gateway for 70% of trade between China and the North. And observers say Beijing's investigation into Hongxiang shows its willingness to implement UN sanctions on the regime. But there are also signs that Pyongyang and Beijing are trying to patch up relations as China celebrated its National Day on October 1st. The two countries' respective ambassadors took part in events celebrating the founding of China in both Pyongyang and Beijing. According to China's Xinhua News Agency, China's ambassador to North Korea, Li Jinjun, said Beijing is pleased at what he called, quote, progress Pyongyang is making under the leadership of Kim Jong-un, and that he hopes the two countries can work together to promote peace by strengthening bilateral ties. Some North Korea watchers say such moves send a message that Beijing will maintain its traditional relations with Pyongyang, despite Washington's request that countries downgrade or sever diplomatic and economic ties with the regime. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
Now, more details are emerging on the deployment of the Terminal High Altitude Area Defense System, or THAAD, to South Korea. According to multiple government sources, one of the anti-missile battery units at Fort Bliss will be deployed to Seongju County in Gyeongsangbuk-do Province. The U.S. currently operates 5 THAAD batteries, 1 in Guam and the others at the Army base in Texas. Seoul and Washington plan to hold deeper discussions over the plan during their 48th annual security consultative meeting on October 20th. Though the original schedule was to have the missile defense system in South Korea by the end of next year, U.S. Assistant Secretary of State Daniel Russell expressed willingness to speed up the process in light of North Korea's pace of missile and nuclear developments. Korea has lost its spot as the world's number 3 exporter of automobiles. That title now belongs to Mexico. According to the Korea Automobile Manufacturers Association, Hyundai Motor, Kia Motors, GM Korea, and other local manufacturers shipped just under 1.7 million cars over the January to August period. That's down more than 14% from a year earlier. In contrast, Mexico's decline was less than 3%. Allowing it to cruise past Korea with more than 1.8 million units. Key factors that pulled Korea down a notch include overall weak demand from emerging markets after expanding overseas production facilities and domestic labor strikes. Germany is still the top exporter at around 3 million units, trailed by Japan. Samsung Electronics reportedly saw strong sales of its Galaxy Note 7 on the first day of the smartphone's relaunch in Korea on Saturday. Industry experts estimate Samsung sold around 21,000 units, signaling a comeback for the tech giant, which last month ordered a recall of the Note 7 due to reports of the batteries overheating or catching fire. While Samsung has offered full refunds, industry analysts say a majority of domestic Note 7 buyers chose to replacement, not refund. The replacement units have a significantly larger battery icon than the recalled models, and the icon is a different color. The Galaxy Note 7 will also be available for sale in Europe starting October 28th. 3D printers can now create artificial bones and even muscles. These artificial bones have been used in the medical field and now have a global market size of more than $13 billion. Kim Mo-kyun reports.
This patient underwent an operation to cut out a part of his skull after brain hemorrhage surgery. During the surgery, some parts of his skull were injured. To fix the problem, doctors conducted a second operation to insert part of a 3D printed artificial skull. The 3D printer was able to create the exact broken part of the skull with a margin of error of less than 0.5 millimeters.
It's a meaningful development because it does not contain any element that is harmful to the body while it's still strong.
This 3D printed artificial skull has been created to replace broken parts of the skull. The artificial bone will slowly dissolve into the human body and facilitate tissue growth so that the tissues can replace the function of the broken bone. Currently, researchers are studying a way to inject stem cells into the artificial bones so that they can regenerate and act like a real bone.
We started with bones because they regenerate faster than other parts. We're trying to develop a product that includes stem cells that can help the bones regenerate.
With the fast development of the 3D printing market, fiercer competition is expected among technology companies. Kim Mo-kyan, Arirang News.
British Prime Minister Theresa May says her country will begin the process of leaving the European Union by the end of March next year. May offered the timetable for Brexit on Sunday in an interview with the BBC and later echoed it during a speech at the Conservative Party's annual conference. Her comments painted the clearest picture yet of Britain's plan for its post-EU future, easing concerns among some leading Conservative lawmakers that the Prime Minister might delay the divorce. Donald Tusk, the president of the European Council, showed support over May's latest remarks, saying they brought welcome clarity. Triggering Article 50 of the EU's Lisbon Treaty gives a member nation a 2-year period to finalize their exit. Philippines President Rodrigo Duterte has apologized profoundly and deeply for his recent comments that caused outrage among Jewish communities around the world. In a speech on Sunday, Duterte explained he had no intention to derogate the memory of the 6 million Jews murdered by the Nazis during World War II when he said last Friday that he would be happy to kill 3 million Filipino drug users and peddlers like Hitler slaughtered the Jews. Regarding Duterte's previous comments, the Israeli government said they were unfortunate. Worldwide Jewish groups, the United Nations, and Germany also said the remarks demonstrated a lack of respect for human life. Korean golfer Kim In-kyung has won her first LPGA title in 6 years with a come-from-behind victory at the Rainwood LPGA Classic in China. It was Kim's 4th career victory and the 6th this year by a Korean. Rounding out the top 3 were fellow Koreans Hongxiang and Mi. Kim trailed He by 3 strokes for the first 3 rounds, but on the final day, on the last 9, sunk 3 birdies and an eagle to win by 1 stroke. Tangerine farmers on the southern island of Jeju are about to start producing solar energy as a new government plan to cut tangerine overproduction is set to become reality. Our Park Se-young has the details.
This was once a tangerine orchard on Jeju Island, but it is now home to a 100-kilowatt solar power unit. That's because the Jeju Special Self-Governing Province has launched a scheme to turn tangerine farms into land designated for generating renewable energy.
This is a kind of sunray pension for Jeju residents, which will hopefully serve as a social security policy for a stable future, and it offers 20 years of guaranteed income.
Under the plan, the solar energy systems are installed for a minimum of 20 years. And the farmers can make a profit by selling the electricity. The government estimates the farmers can make about $3.60 per square meter of land, or more than 3 times what they make from growing tangerines. Once a farmer has their land registered for solar power production, the contractors cover all the necessary expenses for construction and registration of the solar unit, an investment of over $180,000. New solar farms are expected to begin operations as early as January 2017, and the Jeju government will continue to recruit more farmers every year. Park Se-young, Arirang News.
And that brings us to the end of our newscast. Thank you so much for staying with us. We'll be back with more updates at 8 a.m. Korea time, so do stay tuned and goodbye for now.